Hey, this is Darren from Property Prosperity. Today I thought I'd have a chat about something called cooling off. And I know when I'm selling properties to people sometimes, and even when I'm selling properties for people, or also people buying properties, I talk about cooling off sometimes. And if they've never bought a property before, they think I'm nuts. They're like, what is this whole cooling off thing? Because I know it's a crazy sounding name, but basically it just gives you the opportunity to change your mind. So I suppose what happened is it's actually a government legislated thing. So it's like the government's come in, hey, thanks for the like. The government's come in saying, hey, they're worried about people, high pressure salespeople trying to force people in or convince people to sign a contract and then not having the opportunity to be able to change their mind and pull out of the contract. So they came up with this idea, or they actually made it law. Hey, Aina, thanks for joining. They made it law that people have the opportunity, if they sign a contract, this is a legal, a real estate contract, then they've got 2 days where they can actually change their mind. So, and they don't even have to provide a reason why they've changed their mind. They can basically just send a letter or contact the agent and say, hey, I've just changed my mind, I don't want to go ahead with it. And so then the agent just has to accept it and they have to move on. So that's basically what the cooling off period is. As far as when the cooling off period starts and when it actually finishes, they've actually clearly defined when that would actually happen. So basically, generally what happens when you're selling a property, most times when I'm as a real estate agent, what I'm generally trying to do is negotiate all the terms of the contract first. So, what price and when they're going to pay for it, and is there any other terms and conditions and the deposit amount and all that sort of stuff. So I negotiate all that sort of stuff first, and once I'm sure people are definitely go ahead, we get an agreement between the buyer and the seller. Then we order something called a Form 1. So the Form 1, this is all in South Australia, bear in mind. So it may be different if you're in other states of Australia or wherever. But that's basically the way it works here, is you sign a contract and then we prepare something called Form 1. And legally you can actually prepare the Form 1 first and get someone to cite the Form 1 and then sign the contract after that. The reason that I get them to, I generally order the Form 1 once the contract's been agreed, is because the Form 1 is getting all the information about the property to know if, it can be a whole pile of different things actually, whether there's been an Aboriginal burial site, is there toxic waste on the site, is there, a whole pile of council rates and water rates and any development issues as far as council concerned. So actually it can be like 70 pages of information. So it's a lot of information. Generally, most times when you're looking at a Form 1, it's saying, not applicable, not applicable, not applicable. So most of the things don't really apply. But it's sort of like a checklist to make sure people have all the information they possibly need. Because a lot of people are just more focused on how much they're paying for a property rather than is there any issues they have to worry about. And so the Form 1, in theory, goes through and ticks off all those boxes to make sure there's nothing that you haven't been told about when you're buying a property. So that's what the Form 1 is. Generally what happens, you sign a contract first, agreeing the price you want to pay for it. You prepare a Form 1. A Form 1 can take up to a week to prepare a Form 1. So there's a period of time while the Form 1's being prepared, and then you're issued with the Form 1. This document gives you all this information about the property. So once you receive that document, once you've signed the contract and received the Form 1, then that's when your cooling off period starts. And so legally, they've made it a requirement. Then you have 2 full working days, business working days, to make your decision, and you can cool off any time within those 2 business working days. So that means if you receive it on a Wednesday, you have all of Thursday and all of Friday to change your mind, and you have until midnight on Friday to be able to change your mind. So, so even if you got handed it on Wednesday morning, you have 2 full business days, which means all of Thursday, all of Friday. So even if you got it, and if it was Wednesday afternoon, still exactly the same. If you got handed the cooling off, if you got handed the Form 1 and you'd already had the contract handed to you as well, and you say it was a Thursday, you would have all of Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday don't count because they're not business days, and it'll be all of Monday. So that means you'd have until Monday midnight to change your mind, basically. So, and then after that, on Tuesday, the contract's all agreed, and you're basically locked into it. So that's basically how the cooling off period works. So you sign the contract, you get the Form 1. Once you've cited that, then you have 2 full business days to be able to change your mind. After that, though, you can actually agree within the contract. You can have certain conditions. And the thing to understand is you can put whatever condition you want on there. So generally, most people are talking about subject to finance or subject to the sale of the house, or, but you can basically put whatever you want. You can say, I want it to rain on a Wednesday. And if the owner agrees, then it's a part of the contract. It doesn't really matter what the condition is. It's just really a matter of you submitting that condition and the owner agreeing to that condition. And if that condition's met, then agreed to, then you have the opportunity to. Generally, what happens with a condition as well, you put a condition in there. It'll be a time frame when that condition's has to be met by. So, example-wise, you sign up subject to finance. They might give you 2 weeks to be able to go and check out on your finance. At that stage, you have to provide them. We don't have to provide them, but you should provide them with written notice that you've met that condition. If you haven't provided them with written notice that you've met that condition, and you then want to pull out of the contract, you then have to prove to them you can't meet that condition. So, example-wise, subject to finance, if during that 2-week period you can't get your finance, then you need to give them a note for a letter from your bank or your mortgage broker or some sort of information proving to them that you can't get your finance. After that period of time, if you wait your 2 weeks and you haven't told the real estate agent or the owner or anything, then it's assumed that you've got your finance and you'll go ahead as planned. If you want to change your mind after that, saying, oh, I can't get my finance, but it's 3 weeks down the track when you've only had 2 weeks, then it's just too bad. Basically, you've locked into that contract. So that's basically it. So that's the cooling off period. You've got 2 full business working days after you've received the contract and the Form 1. After that, it's only subject to any conditions which you've incorporated into the contract. So this is what I say to people too, and I know people are really hesitant of signing contracts. They're really scared of the whole process of, because it seems really official, and it's a pretty big deal. But I'm saying this to purchasers who I'm talking to as well. At the end of the day, you never really know whether your offer is going to be accepted until you put in an offer. The thing about offers, and particularly letter of offer, it's not really a legal contract. So my advice to people when they're going and buying a property, I'd suggest actually signing a contract, because it looks a lot more official from the owner's perspective, the vendor. They feel it looks a lot more serious if someone's willing to sign actual contracts, because they definitely want to go ahead then. And so you've got much more chance of getting your offer agreed to if you're signing a contract rather than just putting an offer. Because people are a bit worried about people putting in 10, 20, 30 offers. They can just send out offers to heaps of different houses around. Whereas, very, very rarely will someone actually put in an offer and actually sign a contract unless they're quite serious about going ahead with a deal. And likewise, from the perspective of the real estate agent, they're not going to let you sign a contract because it's a bit of a hassle, to be honest. It takes a while to fill out a contract. There's many, many pages involved. And so I'm not going to let someone sign a contract unless I've got a reasonable chance that offer is going to be accepted. So if you're not really sure whether your offer is going to be accepted, that might be one way to test it. Say to the agent, hey, I want to sign a contract. I definitely want to buy this property. So can I sign the contract, and you can submit that to the owner. If the agent's saying, no, I don't think your offer is going to be accepted, straight away you're off the mark. You need to try a little bit harder. So it saves the hassle. Whereas agents are generally happy to accept letters of offers from people because it's who cares? You can accept 20, 30 letters of offers. It's not a big deal. Whereas actual contracts, you generally have to meet up with the people, sign it all off. It's many, many pages involved, and so it is a bit of a hassle as a real estate agent. So I'm not going to do that unless I'm pretty sure that there's a chance you might get your offer accepted. So that's my advice. If you don't get too stressed about signing a contract because of the fact you've got this cooling off period. And that's what's so cool about the cooling off period. You have the opportunity to sign a contract, check the owner's going to accept it, and if you do find out for whatever reason there's something that you weren't expected or you decided to change your mind, then you can call off and you can change your mind and you just pull out of the contract. And again, you don't have to have any reason why you pulled out. So saying that, as a real estate agent, I would advise you not to do it if you don't want to buy the property, because it's just a really bit annoying, to be honest, because it takes a lot of effort for me to go and fill a contract out and take it back to the owner. Obviously, as far from the owner's perspective, they're super excited. They've sold their property as far as they're concerned. The fact that someone signed a contract and they've agreed to it, they've made the assumption, then you're definitely going to go ahead. So again, don't go out just taking advantage of, I've let you know a bit of a secret. Don't go taking advantage of the opportunity to be able to sign contracts and lock people in. Because generally you're locking in the vendor, but you're not locked in because of this whole cooling off period thing. So just use it sparingly. Use it only in emergencies if you want to cool off. So don't sort of waste everyone's time, I suppose, if you definitely don't want to go ahead with the property. But hopefully that's made sense. Hopefully you found it useful. And if you've liked what I had to say, then click on the like button. If you haven't liked what I had to say, then still click on the like button because I really appreciate it. If you know someone's out there wheeling and dealing with agents at the moment and are a bit scared about the whole process and particularly scared about signing a contract, maybe you want to share this this video with them, because they might find it not so overwhelming, and the fact that even if they do sign a contract, they can still pull out of it because of the cooling off period. So Hopefully you've liked what I have to say. If you have, click on the like button. If you've got something you'd like to talk about, you'd like a comment on what I've had to say, then click a comment in the comment box. Or if you've got something you'd like me to talk about in a future episode, then yeah, put a comment in there. Happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about. So thanks guys, thanks for joining. I look forward to talking to you next time. Bye for now.